is doing well, hanging in there. It's good to see your faces. What we're going to start with here, well, first of all, just a brief introduction. So this is all about the pose method of running. You know, a lot of people don't realize that there are right and wrong ways to actually run. And injury comes from most of the time running in an improper method or using improper form. So a couple things to think about is that I key in on is the pose method of running breaks it down into 3 steps. You got the pose, you have the fall, and then you have the pull. And so we'll get into that here in a second. I'm going to show you a couple videos. They're just 2 minutes or so long, 2 or 3 minutes long. So you're going to want to get close to your phone or device here to get started so you can see and listen to the video. But the key things to keep in mind is when we run, what you want to avoid, or what we're trying, let's first of all talk about what we're trying to do. We're actually trying to have our feet off the ground as long as possible. Think about it. When your foot is off the ground and you're running like this, there's no way you get injured. If your foot's in the air, right, there's no way you get injured. Injury occurs when you strike the ground. And so how and where we strike the ground, I have my little demonstration shoe, you know, makes a big difference. So if you heel strike, that means you have to run the entire length of the shoe. That takes time, and then push off. Versus what we want to do is we want a front foot strike and then what's called a heel kiss and off. So 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000 versus 1 1000, 2 1000. So it's basically half the time with the pose method, which means we've reduced the amount of time under tension or under pressure by half. That's the time when you potentially get injured. So as you're going to see in the video, there's really 2 reasons people, you know, look into running differently or improving their running. 1 is to avoid injury, and 2 is to run more efficiently or longer distances, faster and longer. Okay? So avoiding injury is huge. Big complaints I hear in the gym is my hips hurt, my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, I've got plantar fasciitis, my heels, you know, things like that. Every one of those drives back to usually improper form, in that you're landing wrong and you're not running efficiently. Okay, so that's the one thing I want to start with. So what I'm going to have Chad do is, Chad, go ahead and start the first video, and this is just an introductory to the pose method. I found this video, it's really good. It does a better job than I could ever do in explaining what it's all about. So Chad's going to run this. So turn your volume up. Can't hear anything, Chad. Can't hear you at all.
Chad, maybe unmute yourself, and then when you share the screen,
there you go. All
Let
right,
me
try this again.
Can you hear now?
Let me help you out.
Yep.
Okay, let me restart it.
At this point, you're probably wondering, what is the pose method of running, or how can it help me? To help clear things up, let's take a look at some runners. They all look different, don't they? But at the same time, don't they seem to be doing something similar? Now, I'm not talking about putting one foot in front of the other, that's obvious. But it's definitely something within each stride that they all repeat. You see it, but you're having trouble describing it. Let me help you out. Every runner may look different, but they unavoidably do 3 things in every stride. Let's slow it down so you can see them one by one. Every runner first passes through the running pose, then falls from support, and finally pulls their foot off the ground. Those are the 3 invariable elements in running: pose, fall, pull. Like I said earlier, the pose method of running is a systematic approach to teaching technique. This technique revolves around efficiently performing pose, fall, and pull in every stride. It's not a stretch to say that you're here because of one of 3 reasons. You want to prevent injuries, you want to run faster, or you want to run longer. So which is it? If You're here to prevent injuries, then focus your attention on the running pose, or rather, how quickly you pass through it. Most injuries can be traced back to your foot strike. The further ahead of the body your foot is when it hits the ground, the longer it takes to arrive at the running pose. This extended time on support exposes the joints, ligaments, and tendons to an excessive amount of load. So simply put, the quicker you get in and out of the running pose, the fewer injuries you will suffer. When you want to run faster, there is only one thing to think about: falling. Falling is the difference between running in place and running forward. After you've hit the running pose, you begin to fall forward from the supporting leg. This action of falling is like a gas pedal. The farther you fall, the faster you will go. You might think, hey, don't you have to open up your stride length to run faster? The reality is, stride length is merely an effect, not a cause of faster running. Just remember, when you're sprinting, the key is to how far you fall. For the distance runners who just want to run longer, the focal point is pulling. Your cadence must increase, and that's a direct effect of how fast you pull. The average runner has a cadence of 165 steps per minute. When you learn the pose method, that number will increase to 180. This cadence is the threshold to utilize muscle tendon elasticity. After a 12-week adaptation period, mechanical efficiency can increase by up to 50%, and oxygen consumption can decrease by up to 20%. So keep in mind, to run longer, you have to pull more frequently.
I think that's about it.
Cool. No, that's good. So you can stop it. All right. So did everybody was able to hear that and see it?
Yeah, I could see it.
Okay. Good. Good. So a couple things to talk about. Number one, and I know it's always depressing, but that 12-week adaptation period. So I hate to rain on anybody's parade, but you're not going to walk away from this 30 or 40-minute session and your life is going to be changed and you're going to all of a sudden be able to run a marathon. It doesn't work that way. It does take about 8 to 12 weeks, if this is completely new to you, to really, for your body to adapt to, you are changing the way you run. Okay. So a couple things, there's 3 key points, whether you're trying to prevent injury, run faster, run longer. Those are the 3 things to key in on. So for me, what I think about is when I run, it's all about my cadence and the pull, because I'm trying to run either longer or faster, because I've been running pose now for probably 8 to 10 years. So for those of you who are new, or you are injured, or you always are dealing with an injury, then maybe it's getting through the pose faster to where your feet are actually in the air more, but all 3 tied together. Okay. So let's actually start to do some drills. So the first thing we're going to do is just a little bit of warm up. So let's just do some jumping jacks just to get the body a little bit warmed up. Good. So let's just run in place, or if you guys are outside and you have an area, you can go ahead and move. But let's just do some high knees. Good. All right, and so let's do some butt kickers. You can do this in place or also run as well. Good. If you are outside or you have a high enough ceiling, we'll do some skips. You can do these in place as well. Good. Let's do a couple mountain climbers. So we'll just do 5 on each side. All right. We're not going to be doing a ton of hardcore stuff today, so that's enough just to get the joints going. So let's get started with the first thing is basically the foot position, or where we want the foot to land. All right, and so this is one that is typically, as mentioned in the video, causes the most injury, and that is where and how the foot is landing. So what we want is basically, we're looking for your foot to land on the front third. All right, not mid and not back. So we want front third. So land, and then what's called a heel kiss, and then basically you're moving on. So you're coming down, landing, heel kiss, and moving on. So the way we practice that is just a jump drill. So just jumping in place, okay? So when you jump like this, you could also use a jump rope if you wanted to. We don't ever jump rope on our heels. That actually hurts. So when we jump rope, we're on the front third of our foot. So just go ahead and do 10 jumps, stop, and then do 10 jumps, stop, and then we'll do it one more time. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, good. So now what we're gonna do, so you might need a little bit of an area here, is we're gonna do the jump drill with a lean. So we just did it straight up and down. Now we're gonna lean. So when you get to roughly about 22 degrees in your lean, you either have to take a step or you're gonna fall on your face. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna lean. And I'm just gonna start jumping with a lean, okay? So go ahead and do 3 or 4 of those. Good. And then go ahead and do it again. And one more time. Now, a couple of things that should be happening naturally is your knees should be bent. You should not be upright. You should have a natural, what's called an S curve. So your body, basically, you can see me, I'm kind of in a bit of a shape of an S. And so I'm also very much like a spring loaded. My knees are bent. I'm in a comfortable position. I'm leaning. Now try this, because this is actually kind of interesting, like you said in the video. So when you do this next one, we'll do it one more time. What I really want you to do is really try to lean almost past the comfort level. So when you lean a little bit, this is how you control speed. So leaning a little bit, and then I'm gonna lean a lot. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna have to jump faster. So go ahead and try that. Really try to do a max lean and notice how your speed increases. There you go, yeah. If you lean too much, you're basically gonna have to start actually walking or running because you can't keep up. So that's how you control your speed. It's not stride length. It's, as they said in the video, the amount you lean.
That's interesting. Oh,
Yeah, it's all physics.
yeah.
You know? One thing to keep in mind also is that they said in the video, you don't want your stride, your foot, get out in front, because now I have to catch up. So you want your upper body to stay ahead of your stride, okay? So your upper body is always...
Your upper body in front of your lead foot, Chris?
Yeah, yeah. If you are out here, if you're out here, now there is almost no way I can land front foot. If my foot is out in front, I'm going to either land flat or on the heel. And now I got to spend all this time under tension and weight on my foot. And remember, the idea is we want to spend as little time with our feet on the ground. So the idea is upper body is always in front. Now, how do we accomplish that? And that's the next part. We accomplish that with the pull, the figure 4 pull. So to get there is, instead of this, it's this. I am bringing my heel directly up to my butt. That's what I want. And you lean forward, basically. And in the process, what happens is that you never get out in front, your foot never gets out in front of your body, okay? So the drill we're gonna do here is what's called the wall back drill. So find something, I'm gonna use my post here. So I'm gonna be against the post. So put your back against the post. And what I want you to do, trying to get the phone so you can see what I'm doing here, is with your back against the wall, I want you to bring your knee up. So what's gonna happen is you can't do this. Hang on, let me see if I can get my phone to hold up. Here we go. You can't do this. I'm on the post. I can't bring my foot up back here. So with the wall or a post there, I have to bring it straight up. So just do this. We're gonna do 3 sets of 5 on each side. So just put your back roughly against the wall, maybe a couple inches off, and just raise your foot up. And because the wall is there, you cannot put, or you have to bring your heel directly up underneath your hips or your rump. When you do this, make sure that you've got a nice loose ankle. So my foot is angled down. And I'm just creating that figure 4. You see, that's where I'm getting that figure 4. Good. Okay, so now we're going to switch it around and we're going to do the same thing, except for now we're going to face the wall and we're going to lean into it. So what I want you to do is any kind of a wall, post, or whatever. I want you to be, a foot or 2 away from it, and I want you to lean into it. And now I want you to bring your foot up in that same motion, so your heel is up against your rump, coming up against underneath your butt. So do 3 sets of 10, so 5 on each side, 3 times. And when you bring your foot down, remember, I don't want hard, flat foot. I want you to bring down on the front third. So it's basically tap with a heel kiss. So you're landing on the front third of your foot and then bringing your heel down lightly. Good. Yeah, I see Chad doing it. Good. I see one of the Watkins. I'm not sure who that is, but looks good. Okay, so everything we've done so far has been static, meaning pretty much in place. Now we're going to make it dynamic. This is where it gets interesting. So this is always a fun drill. It's a combination of balance and coordination. We're going to combine what we just did. So this is where it gets kind of fun. So what we're going to do is, this is called a single leg run raise. Okay, so the idea is we're going to use what we just learned. We're going to do a lean. We're going to bring our knee up, and we're going to just focus on one leg at a time. So this is where it gets interesting. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do lean and bring my leg up, one leg at a time. Okay, so go ahead and give that a try. Just pick one leg and maybe do 5 to 7 steps. I'll show you again. So all I'm doing is focusing on that one side, one leg, bringing it up. You're in a dynamic running position. My hands are up. My straight leg, or my left leg in this case, has a slight knee bend, and all I'm doing is focusing on bringing that right knee up and bringing the heel up, landing with front third of the foot, and then the heel kiss. Like I said, it definitely takes some coordination. It's not something that comes intuitively, but it's a great drill to practice. All right, Liz, you're up. There you go. That's it. Good. So when you've done one side, then go ahead and try to do the other side as well. Same thing. You're landing on the front third of your foot and you're bringing your heel up underneath your butt. We're exaggerating that movement. Anybody have success with that? so Dan?
Not me. That was hard.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's interesting how you think, how hard can it be to just hop on one foot and kind of run? And as you found out, it's not intuitive, it takes some practice. But at the same time, it is a great drill because what it forces you to do is to focus on just that one side and doing all the movements of the pose method. High knee, the pull. Remember, we are pulling. So we are actively using our hamstring, which is this muscle back here, and we are pulling up. Okay, what that does is that uses your glute, which is your butt, your hamstring, all your big muscles, versus we don't want to be using our small muscles. I mean, they're going to be used, obviously, but not focusing on them. So that pull, that active pull, that's how you run faster. Remember in the video, 190 steps a minute? That's something I want everybody to do in the next day or two, is when you go out and run, I want you to count how many steps you take in 1 minute when you run, just natural run. All right, I think you'll be amazed. 190 is a lot of steps in 1 minute. That is a really rapid pace, but that's what you should try to be accomplishing whenever you go out for just even a light to moderate run, because that builds that muscle tendon elasticity. And literally, once you get into that groove, that's when you are most efficient. All right, it takes a while to get there. Once again, that's that 12-week curve to get there, but it's something to target. Okay, so now, do those of you who have jump ropes, let me grab mine. And if you don't have a jump rope, don't worry about it. You can do these without. So we're gonna do a couple combination drills. So the first thing we're gonna do, jumping rope is actually great for running because you use a lot of the same, at least foot landing techniques and where you land. So the first thing we're gonna do is just, and if you don't have a jump rope, I'm just gonna have you, once again, do that static in place hop. So I just want you to jump rope. Slight knee bend. Notice where your foot's landing. I don't know if you can see with mine. It's always on the front third of the foot is where you're landing. You don't ever jump rope flat-footed. And for the most part, should be quiet. Very, very quiet. I know I'm running well when I don't hear my footsteps. It's lots of little quiet steps, okay? So go ahead and just jump. Do 15 or 20 in place, landing on the ball of your foot. Your upper body is quiet. You have a slight knee bend, and it's as efficient as possible. Good. Okay. So now we're going to take it to the next step. And now we're going to jump rope running in place. So we are going to use our figure 4. So we're basically going to be high knee jump rope. This is how a lot of kids learn how to jump rope, is they kind of start like this, okay? A little bit of coordination here as well. But notice you're bringing your knee up, your ankle comes up underneath your butt. High knee, focus on pulling, landing on the front third of your foot. Good. So now, if you're outside or if you've got a place to do this, a room to move, what I'm going to have you do is you're going to start jump roping in place, high knees, then you're going to lean forward and actually run. So a slight jog, jump rope, and move. Once again, I'll show you. So we start with just high knees in place, and then I start to lean, and I just automatically move forward. Once I pass that 22 degree, your body, you're either going to have to move or you're going to end up on your face. And the jump rope is forcing you to get your feet up and get your knees and bringing that ankle up underneath your butt. Good, Chad. That's it. Good. And then the last drill we're going to do is we're going to take that, and what I want you to do, Chad's already doing it, is if you have enough space, I'm going to have you jump in place, then you're going to lean, and you're going to take 3 or 4 steps, and then I want you to drop the rope and just continue running, utilizing that high knee and that pull and that landing on the front third. So this is what it looks like. So you're going to start jumping, high knees, lean, and then just drop the rope and just keep running. And run for maybe 10 or 15 meters. Good. There you go. There you go. Good, good, good. Good. I see the Watkins girls. Good. Nice. There you go. Saw somebody at the Puckett household fly by the screen. Good. Awesome. So I am going to move. You guys keep doing that. Going out into the open space here where I got a little bit more room. One of the things I love about where I live, my backyard goes right into what I call my private playground, which is Ken Carroll Open Space. Nobody ever uses this park, and I don't have to cut the grass. Okay, good. So, a little bit of a bigger area here where I've got to play with. So once again, the idea that we've talked about is the pull, getting that knee up, your foot, your heel comes up underneath your butt. That's the pull, the pose, that lean and leaning forward. So what I'm going to do here, set my phone up and kind of see. So the idea when we put this all together in running is that as I come forward, I am never letting my feet get in front of me. It's that lean. So now is the time to put it all together and actually go out and do a couple 100 meters and see if you can, it's going to feel awkward. If this is new to you, I guarantee you it's going to feel awkward, but push through it, keep working, keep utilizing those things, focus on 1 or 2 things. For most people, it's the foot, the landing, and you want to be quiet. You don't want to hear a flat foot. When I run with a group at the gym, when we do running workouts, that's the first thing I notice is who's loud, who's got flat feet, who's landing loud. You know, that means a flat land versus that front third, because that immediately, when you land on the front third of your foot and do a heel kiss, you can't not run more quiet. And then the other thing we look for is that active pull and that knee. And so right now you almost want to overdo that and over exaggerate. It's going to feel awkward and look awkward. So go ahead, do a couple 100 meters, utilizing what we just put together, which is the, push myself there so you can see down the trail. Put together that run. So go ahead. I can look down. I'll wait till you guys get back. Hello, welcome
Hi.
back.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You know, obviously weird, right?
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
like pulling my leg up so much higher.
Yep.
I feel like it is more fatiguing.
Yeah, it's going to take some while. That is, you know, that's basically like, remember the first time, you know, you did a weightlifting maneuver, you know, like a deadlift or something that your body's not used to. It's fatiguing. So what's going to happen is, what you will do is you will basically get into it's not going to be quite as exaggerated. So right now you're over exaggerating kind of that movement. And so what I was going to talk about next is, the important thing now is to relax, to kind of find your stride, utilizing the mechanisms that we just talked about, but finding what that comfort level is. So a couple keys that we talked about. One, quiet. You know, you don't want to hear your feet. Number two, that front third of a foot strike. And number four, actively thinking about that pull. That pull is what is going to make you a better runner, because that gets your foot off the ground and that you are actually in the air more than you are on the ground. And that's important. So what that's telling me is that the way you've been running is the opposite. You've been running to where your legs have been straight. You know, you're not bending that much, and that you're spending a lot of time with your foot on the ground, which is where injury and fatigue come in. So this is like anything. It's new, and so it is fatiguing. It's different. So, you know, don't go out and do 4 miles. Go try to do 1 mile or a half a mile or a quarter mile or whatever, but actively think about that pull. It sounds like that's what you need to focus on. The other key that you want to think about, Liz, is when you look down, I want you to look forward when you run. I don't want you to look down, but every once in a while, look down and make sure that your feet are not out in front of you, that your body is always in front of your feet. That's another really good technique to use, that you are doing it properly.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, what about the leaning portion? I feel like I'm like exaggerating my leaning too far forward. Is that right?
Lean is going to control speed. That's the only thing your lean is. Now, once again, keep in mind, when we say lean, let me show you what I'm talking about here, is that this is not a bend. That's not a lean. Your lean is you're kind of in that S position, but your body, you know, your shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. I'm sorry, not your knees. Your shoulders, your hips, and your ankles, I can draw a line and basically run right through those. So that's not good. That's not good. This is a good position for running. Okay, should be comfortable. And when you lean controls speed. So the amount I lean, so if I just lean a little bit, I'm going to run slow. If I lean a lot, I'm going to run fast. So all the lean does is control your speed. So if you feel you're leaning too much, meaning that you're running too fast and getting fatigued, bring it back a little bit. You know, that's basically learning. Now, that being said, that's a really good point. The pose method does not change by speed. So don't think just because I'm running a 10-minute mile, I have a different pose form versus running a 6-minute mile. But the only thing that changes is the lean. You still want to do about 170 to 190 steps a minute. even if you're running slower, because that's the lean, okay? But you're just going to hit the ground, you know, you're basically going to be touching a lot. It's a lot of little small steps. So if you look at, you know, professional runners, marathon runners, all the way to, you know, track runners, they have tremendous, it's not the length of their stride, it's the amount that their legs are moving because of the lean.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have any questions?
All right, I have one more.
Yeah.
So one of us over here is getting really hung up on the heel kiss, and how you get, and even myself, I can't like figure out how I would get that heel kiss. Is that more just to prevent your foot from being too angled like this and thinking more like striking like this?
Yeah, you know what? Don't get caught up on the heel kiss. If you're landing on the front third of your foot, it's almost naturally going to happen.
Okay, awesome.
So, yeah. So when you, I don't know if you can see the ground here.
We can see the ground.
Okay. Yeah. So if I'm landing on the front third, you know, unless you are literally just going to run on your tiptoes, which is terrible, you don't want to do that. But if you're landing on the front third of your foot, it's just naturally as you come through that, you're going to push off on the heel, and then you're going to lift, and then it's going to happen again. Okay.
Okay.
So once again, the heel kiss is there more of that's just what's happening with your heel. That's not something I want you to focus on. Focus on the front third land, and then the pull, and that heel kiss is just going to literally, it's just going to happen naturally.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, one other thing. What if you're not running on a flat surface? How does it
that's
change?
a great point. Running uphill is a great way to practice the pose method because it literally forces you to bring your knee up because you need to get up that hill, okay? Running downhill is really hard because running downhill, you literally want to land flat because you're going downhill. So that's a place where you, at least when even to this day, and I've been running pose for years and years, is when I run downhill, I literally now have to think about getting my knee up and landing front third. Because what happens when you run downhill is you notoriously have this flat landing because you're landing on a downhill, but I immediately can feel it because I feel that pressure, it gets loud and my foot lands flat. So running downhill is where you really got to think about it. If you want to practice the pose method, running uphill or a slight incline is a great way. Oh.
Okay.
Hi.
Cool.
Go. So, the neighbor's dog just came and said hi. Sorry about that. So, all right. So basically, I'm giving you guys a bunch of drills. It's a little bit of an abbreviated Zoom class here, but I appreciate you showing up. Practice those drills. That's all I can say is every time, you know, use those as your warm-up. To this day, a lot of times when I go for a run, I'll walk the first quarter mile, and I will do some of those drills, especially the one-legged hop, the one that's kind of, you know, makes you feel really uncoordinated. You get better at that as you do it. And then during that warm-up, I will work on really exaggerating high knee, bringing that ankle up underneath my butt, and then I slide into the actual run. But that's what I use during the warm-up. And I do it at the gym too. When we do 100, 200-meter warm-ups in the warm-up cycle, you know, I'm usually, if you notice, I'm not the first one out. I'm not the first one at the front of the pack. I am focusing on warming up. I'm warming up my knees, my ankles, thinking about how I'm going to run, utilizing the pose method, getting comfortable with that. So do that. Use that as part of your warm-up. Okay? I encourage you to do those drills and use this method. As awkward as it is, it takes a while, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. Stick with it.
This was great, Chris. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure, you guys. Thanks for showing up. Have a great rest of the day. Go out, get some running.
Thank you, Chris.
Make running fun. So.
And Dan, we like your shirt.
Thanks, Chris.